My name is Mark Romano, and I'm a wildlife biologist with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I work for the Alaska Maritime National Wildlife Refuge. There is a wide variety of species that use the refuge. However, we focus our research efforts on seabirds. My role as a wildlife biologist is to monitor the health of seabird populations in the Pribilof Islands. I'm there to determine whether their populations are increasing or decreasing, and if they are increasing or decreasing, to figure out why. The Pribilof Islands are an amazing place. They are situated in the eastern Bering Sea, but they are very isolated. The closest island is almost 200 miles away. The Bering Sea Shelf, which is the area that the Pribilof Islands are located on, is extremely productive. It's one of the most productive marine areas in the entire world, and so it's a perfect place for seabirds to breed during the summer. Over 2.5 million seabirds nest there, and it's one of the largest seabird nesting colonies in the world. Most of the seabird species that we study in the Pribilof Islands are foraging on fish or invertebrates. When we monitor the diet and the productivity, we're getting a look into the marine environment. And so when species are doing well, it's likely that the marine environment is also doing well. Unlike many of the species that just come to the islands to breed in the summer and then migrate away for the winter, red-faced cormorants are resident species. They'll breed on the islands in the summer, but in the winter, they don't stray too far from the islands. They tend to forage near shore, but they are bottom feeders. And because they forage in such a narrow niche, that near shore bottom marine environment, they give us information on part of the marine ecosystem that other species don't.
Because cormorants build such large nests, they need a nice flat platform. The nests are usually low on the cliff in the black band of basalt rock. The basalt fractures and it produces big ledges, and the cormorants like to nest on those flat ledges.
Red-faced cormorants are one of the least studied seabird species in the world. There's very little known about even the basic elements of their biology. They inhabit very steep cliffs right on the edge of the ocean, and their nesting colonies are difficult to access. The summer in the Pribilof Islands is short, and it's wet, and it's prone to storms. All of these conditions make it very difficult for us to survey in small boats in such a challenging environment.
That dark brown line right here from that slide, we'll start it right there.
When we survey for red-faced cormorants, we are surveying as close as we can to the very base of the cliff.
I got one adult.
We use crews of 3 to 4 people, and we count every cormorant that we see. It's a very dynamic place to be, right at the edge of the ocean, oftentimes right in the kelp beds with birds all around us. They lay 3 to 4 eggs, and they incubate for about 30 to 34 days. Once the eggs hatch, the chicks will take over 60 days to reach fledging age, so it's a very big investment for the parents. They're working hard, especially with 3 to 4 chicks to feed throughout that period. The southeast Bering Sea, where the Pribilof Islands are located, has been anomalously warm for several years now. Sea ice distribution has changed, and most years doesn't make it to the Pribilof Islands. For some species, there may be benefits to a changing environment. Forage that they depend on may become more plentiful in a warmer climate. Other species may be negatively impacted. As for red-faced cormorants, we don't know how the changes will affect the species, because the Pribilof Islands are so isolated. These birds won't necessarily have another nesting place to go to that is surrounded by cooler water. This is their home. They have to rely on that environment, in whatever shape it's in, to forage and to provide for their young. In 2005, we counted over 3,500 red-faced cormorants in the Pribilof Islands. In 2015, we only counted 1,500 birds. The Pribilof Islands are likely a closed population. So we are pretty confident that the reduction in numbers that we have observed actually reflect a reduction in the population. Red-faced cormorants are a joy to study, partly because there is so little known about them, and everything that we discover in studying these birds is something new and exciting. The fact that such a striking animal could live in such a harsh and unforgiving climate is really intriguing to me.
Beautiful bird. That iridescent plumage is really striking, especially in sunlight, but there is no sunlight today.